Welcome back to Duro3 YouTube channel. In today's video we're having a look over the upgrades I do to a Kenpro KR-400 rotator, which includes limit switches, putting the motor start capacitor in, and also going from a 3-stack gear here to a 4-stack gear, and a few of the other mods I do to these things, as well as moving the brake disc from here down into inside. So we'll just go for a bit of a run through of all this stuff here, and we'll show you what I do. So one of the first things I do is these Kenpro KR-400s do not have limit switches. This version of limit switch installation is my second version. As you see, these got a few holes there, that's where the wires come through. That was for little baby limit switches. I'm actually using this as the latest version I do with roller. You can see the roller actuators on the arms for the limit switches. So basically, do a whole lot of measuring up, mount the limit switches. I remove the original hex bolts and put in solid head cap screws to get around and try and get the things to sit in as close as possible. And yeah, just trying to get up as high as I can, because the hex bolts make it push this down a bit too far. So basically they're in there. I also put socket head cap screws on the actual motor mount as well, and basically we'll take this top plate off and I'll show you more of what's going on down inside. So basically limit switches in this one are in, as you can see. Also the motor start capacitor is in, and underneath here, which I'll probably explain later on, is the shafts have been fixed into position. So there we are. I'll just this is basically a disassemble to get ready to start greasing everything up and everything. So this is like a disassemble to do that. So I thought I'd videotape this to show you what I do to these rotators. This just makes them a lot better. So basically I just get rid of the socket head cap screws and get your fingers working. These are stainless steel ones, M6s, M6s now. Okay. Yeah, that's got that. There we go. Rightio. So I'll remove this. Normally when you remove the motor, all these gears will just fall off because the shafts will just physically fall out. So we'll have a look at this next. I'm going to remove the motor itself as well. So we'll get the motor out and then I'll explain the rest of the mods that I do on top of the motor. So we'll get this off here. When your fingers decide to work. Geez, come on, get out of there. I'll have to realign everything back up again, but I need to strip it down for greasing and everything else. So that's all part of the alignment stuff to do on these things. So the basic chassis is still the same chassis, but what I do is I drill the holes for the cables. Well, this one has an extra hole, this where the little baby one was going to go through, and then I devised this new version. So basically it's the same KR-400, but I make up these little spacers. I've got a bag of them here, aluminium 3mm spacers, to then space everything down a bit lower, to then do for the mods that I do to remove the brake from being on the top here, and there's a brake pad on this piece here, and the moves up and down, which means it makes it very hard to put these big limit switches in. The small ones will fit in here on a big angle, but this new system is a lot better. So basically this is the original brake pad, disc brake pad. As you see in this, if you look closely, there's a fracture in this one. So this one is actually, we see more fractures here, you can just see them in there, 2 fractures. There's a lot of leverage and up and down, because the motor's off-axis motor, as you can see here. When you energise, it lifts up. When you de-energise, it drops down onto the brake. So that's how KR-400s work. And a lot of all the cheaper rotators, if they've got a brake pad in them, they all use this similar system. So basically this one has been pulled out, and yeah, so what I do is I either replace the actual the gear assembly with a KR-400 one for the elevation rotator, or I make them up myself. So basically use the gear, we turn the gear around the other way, and I get one of the original disc plates, and if it's in good condition I then cut it down, and then basically it is actually screwed into this top plate. Instead of being held on in position by these ones, held in by a washer and a C-clip and some glue. Hence they fracture over time and move around and stuff up basically. So these are the versions of gears that I replaced this later version with. And as you can see, the normal brake, which has been on the top, is now moved down and sitting on the motor mount plate. So it now moves up and down within here. As you can see, it doesn't lift up that high, and it lifts up about that high. You get in the right direction. So this guard is basically to keep the grease from the gears. This gear here is sitting just here. So that keeps the grease from flying in on top of getting onto the brakes. So being the fact that it only comes up so far, less likely to get grease down the inside. Mainly to shield it from that. And basically this is actually screwed on. I'll show you one of the other ones I've done. This is what it looks like. Oh, and I use this brake pad I did here. Is one I get out of, which I got out of a whole lot of them out of America. They were ones for the high gains and stuff. So these are a stick-on pad. Much better cork. The cork that's on these is very hard and sort of slippery. This stuff is softer, or seems to be softer, but seems to be impregnated with like a rubbery stuff. It's quite good, and they go on really well. So what I do is I normally there's double-sided tape on these, really good double-sided tape, but I also put a couple of drops of super glue on them as well to hold them in place, just to make sure. So basically this is how I screw it on. The screws have been out of line here because I've got to cut around getting these out of here. So I line everything up, get this piece made up. This is a bit of it's a conduit fitting by Clipsal. As you can see, it's there. Oh, the part number's gone because it was sitting right there, and it's a, I can't think what part number is top of my head. But yeah, I use this. It's a nuts for the end of an adapter. So basically I put it in. I first put the brake pad in, centralise it, glue it down and double side it down, get it all straight, and basically this is actually then located. You probably see a very slight line around the outside. I make a circle, measure it all up, and then this gets glued and dropped into position, and then it gets, well, this is already pre-drilled, these holes, and then I actually drill and tap this on so it can't move. So that's what I do with these. So I make a few of these up, and I make up one, then I use one. So I actually got one in stock basically, but I did make two up. This one's getting ready to be done. So as you can see there's the liner maker around, and the holes are already pre-drilled. And the reason that one is offline is because this has got to be cut away here. So I had to move the screw a little bit to the side up in here. Get my finger out of the rubber, right? So that's why that screw hole's a little out of line. But this one's ready to go, so when I get my next lot of and flaring out, geez, a reflection of that. Oh, geez. So that one will be ready to go when I get more of the nuts things in there. So basically the whole thing is then assembled, aligned, which you can actually get this thing aligned perfectly. And then what I've got to do is, since this whole thing sits a bit lower, upside down, because the original gear, it sits that way and comes out through the top. So the gear is sitting that way around, light in the right direction. So that's how that works, because it sits on top here, basically, and it moves up and down within here. So you've got to actually remove, when you get the motor out, you've got to physically remove this to get it out. So basically that then is put on after you put the whole thing together. So basically I can now remove the motor without having to physically remove a disc. So normally this sits a bit lower, so I put a couple of washers on there, and I put the C-clip back on, or the E-clip back on again, and I glue that back in position, so that's all ready to go. So He's already done this one. Was refurbished, this motor. It's been painted silver here. The whole thing was just cleaned up and ready to go. So that's done. So that's got the limit switches and that's part done. Now the gears, since the shafts can't move now, which is good. So we'll just move all the gears off. And I'll show you what I've done to this. So this is one of the mods I do. One of the zero mods, got shims on here. This is my new new spacer, because with the 3 spacer, this spacer is thicker. The 3 stack of gears. This is a 4 stack gears. Normally, some of the early versions only had 3 stack. This is what KR-600 did. They had a different center in the middle, it's beside the point. So this is now a 4 stack gear to save the ring gears, which are very rare. This one here, I used a different base on this one. Was a insert, and yeah, made this all work basically. So yeah, it's ready to go. And basically, I groove the actual with a I put cold chisel the end of these, in a sense, is what I do, and put a ring of lines around, and then these are pressed into the sub chassis. And then I get there, and you probably can see, if we get the light in the right direction, I then pin it with a centre punch, then fold the edges right out over the edge and make sure it's fixed in position 100% and can't move. So then the shafts cannot move, and also makes the whole thing work a lot easier for assembly. So basically it makes it much easier to assemble. So, and get the alignment, everything perfect and everything else. So it stops these shafts spinning, because the shafts spin in the top and bottom housings or chassis, and basically they wear it loose. They get loose. So this is just showing the mods I do to these. I'll pull that back out there again. And also then I just lost those 2 shims. Don't want to lose those. They go on there. I always shim these up to get them just right. So I then put the motor start capacitor on. I've made this bracket, and I utilise the original mounting clamp that comes with the bracket, and I just fold it onto it. And this is the little bracket I make up, this bracket here. So there we go. So this is then put in, and then the whole thing can be wired up. And I'll do extension of this video. I'm getting better at doing editing. I try not to edit, but I know how to do it now, so it's a bit harder, but it's more stuffing around. So I'll do a part 2 of this when this has been assembled and wired up, because your potentiometer goes there and your drive gear goes there. So this is just a short video to show the mods that I do to these things. I will now reassemble this with grease and everything, so it's ready to go for this job I'm working on. And yeah, so there we go. This is how it all comes apart to go back together again. So there we go. We've got a whole lot of stuff hanging around here, bits and pieces and stuff. So it's all offset a camera. How we can't have that? Gee, we're going to make a mess here somewhere else. There we go. So there we go. There's a quick run through of the mods and upgrades that I do to a Kenpro KR-400 rotator. Okay, we shall catch you again soon. Bye. Okay, welcome back. This is part 2 of the Kenpro KR-400 upgrade section. I just had to put this onto the back of the other video. So I just thought just finished wiring it up. I just thought I'd show you what I've done and how it's all come out. So we have all the wiring done into the limit switches, and basically it's all mounted up, ready to go. It's all greased. I've got the socket on, refurbished plug. Everything's mounted up here. It's all wired in, ready to go, and all new wiring. The actual socket is going to go through this cover plate, which is going to be put onto the lower housing of the KR-400, and this comes through from the inside. So basically, you haven't got to de-wire anything when you want to service it. You just slide it through like that, and you put the nut on. It's very, very easy to do. So yeah, that's why I like doing these ones. So you don't have to rewire or unsolder anything to physically install anything. Just physically undo the nut, and away you go. So much better for servicing. You don't have to unsolder anything. And the plug that it uses will be the 7-pin LTW. Here we are. It's an Amphenol LTW that I get locally. So there you go. So that's just a bit of a quick update and a bit of a quick look around of it's all together. I've now got to go and do the rest of the stuff and physically finish it off and get it ready to go. All good skis. I might do another update on this once that is all together. Catch you later. Be part 3 later on. Catch you. Bye. Okay, welcome back. This is part 3 of the KR-400 upgrades that I do. And I've just moved on to the controller. I've got to get the controller all together before I finish off and I get the rotator fully together. So I'm going to need the controller so I can actually align everything. So basically I just thought I'd do a quick run over of the mods and upgrades I do to the controller, and then I can get back to doing the rotator. So basically up inside here I have installed an LED illumination for the display. I removed the yellow sticky bit of tape they put on top of the lens and clean it up. I also install onto the main PCB a power supply to drive the 12 volt, these are 12 volt, these LEDs strips, so they're like an IP67 version. So I put an outlet on here so we can get it in, take it off easily. So you can see the little terminal block here. So I just wire it in here. I have another PC board, a brand new one that I've had made which has this audio on it, but I mod this one up because I've done quite a few of these now. I've also covered all the 240 volt AC terminals. I install a fused IEC socket, a snap-in fused IEC socket, and then I also install, if you can see here, it is a numbered cover plate. This one is for the 8-pin cinch plug, but this is a 6-pin cinch plug and it still fits in the same location. Just do a few little alignments, and basically we put a 6-pin in here ready to go. Has an earth bolt which is wired back inside here, and everything's been wired up and ready to go and tested and everything. So basically all I need to do now is physically finish assembling the rotator, and then I can move forward and align it, and then we're all up and running. So there we go, a bit of a quick run around of the KR-400 controller upgrades. So yeah, this is what I do to these things. Now remove the screw terminal block, which I hate. All these ones was basically stuffed anyway. All the threads were stripped in it, so yeah. So I had to replace it anyway, so that's a good excuse. Righty-o, everything works the same as normal, left and right. I had to replace the front panel on this one. This one was really badly scratched in the very top here, so this one's in not bad condition. Okie dokie, there we go. Quick run through of the KR-400 standard controller, and basically I'll be back again with the final thing up and running with the rotator and controller. Okay, catch you next video. Bye. Welcome back. Okay, this is part 3, or is it part 4, of the KR-400 upgrade procedure I do. Everything is finished. I just thought I'd do a quick run through and show it working and all together. So we have all the controller all together, all cleaned up. Everything's done, label on the back, says it's all done. We have the 2 plugs that will be going with this. This will be up for sale. We have the cover plate on, sockets in. I've labelled it. One thing I had to do, I noticed in this one that the threads were pretty well stuffed. So I put M8 recoils in here on there, on the one here, on the bottom, all of them, and I put them in the top as well, because there was one I noticed was manky. So when you do one, you may as well do them all. So this is all ready to go, and then I realised I didn't have a set of mask clamps painted up for this. So maybe what I've done is I've got a brand new set that a few years ago I had glass feed blast, and then a new process. So we're looking at the powder coating in clear. So this one was one that I did a couple of years ago, and I'd forgotten all about it. So this will be going with this. That's a fairly close match. And this has actually been powder coated in clear, something that he wants. It's like the powder coater wanted to experiment with a new colour, and it was clear. So basically, yeah, we have 2 of these, and the actual packet of galvanised bolts is actually unopened, so it's brand spanking new. So I'm not going to pull them out of the plastic bag, and I'll be supplying bottom mounting bolts for it. So yeah, so I just sort of get that out and show you those. And what I'm going to do now is put them back in there for now. I'm going to quickly wire it up and show it going around, and presto. So we'll plug him in, plug in the ISC socket, back over there, plug this into the front. Oh, what's going on here? Okay. I'll bring it a bit closer. Sorry about all the lack of light here. Might try and put the other lights back on now. I forgot to do it. The problem is you can't see the display that well. Okie dokie. We'll take him for a bit of a quick run through. Get these mask lamps sitting in there. Pop it a bit further away. Not with those. Okie dokie. Turn him on. You can see the LEDs. LED up inside there, illuminating the display. So there we go. Okay, we'll run around to the left. And we can even you can hear the actual motor, off-axis motor dropping in back onto the brake again. Stop at west. Go again. Okay, coming out the south. There we are, finishes at south. Limit switches took over then, which is a good thing. Maybe I should lift this up. It's not really a silver display, but maybe, maybe not. Going back to north, we'll stop at north. Go again. Everything has come up pretty good. Everything's whole happy. We'll stop at east for a second. And so this is just to try and get this all finished, and basically this will be up for sale. So this will be up on the website soon. There's our south again, an overlap. We're running back to north and park it at north, and presto, this will be the quick run through of this, and this will finish this video. This will be the last of this set. I can move down on to the next rotator to be done. Coming up to 45 degrees. More east, as I say. And there we go, back to north. There we go. Wrong way. Too far. Okay, there we go, turn him off. Okay, we shall catch you next video. Bye.